Hi everybody, this is Surtur from Slytherin and I'll be presenting to you a tiny bit of our new game To End All Wars, a grand strategy title set during World War I that allows you as a player to take command of one of the major alliances at the time, trying to defeat your enemies and perhaps even change history. Today we're going to look at a couple of turns of a smaller scenario that comes with the game, since the game is just really too big to cover it in such a video. But it's just to give you a general idea of the gameplay mechanics when it comes to marching and fighting, as well as the interface and the tactics and strategies that can be used. So we're going to jump right into a scenario I prepared with the East Prussia 1914 campaign. But before we do that, let me just take you around the big map that you will play on. In one of the ground campaigns, the whole map will be available to you to march your armies, set up defenses, break through enemy lines, use airplanes, use submarines, naval action, and it's not just Europe, it also includes parts of the Middle East as well for the Middle Eastern campaign, and even off-map regions to allow you to simulate the battles in Africa and East Asia. So in the ground campaign you will be able to play the entire war from 1914 onwards, and even with alternate starting positions to give you different what-if scenarios and how would the different war plans have affected the course of the war. Right now, however, we're going to jump into the East Prussia campaign, which takes place in late August 1914. We're playing as the Central Powers here, and the Russians are invading East Prussia, trying to take the fortress city of Königsberg. And it's up to us to defeat two Russian armies and see if we can save the city and perhaps even initiate a counterattack. Let me turn on the military control overlay to quickly give you a glance of how the current balance of power is. And we can see that we have two Russian armies attacking. The first Russian army is moving in here, in green, which is the first Russian army commanded by Paul von Rennenkampf, and he's already making flee two of my troops back to Königsberg, fearing his presence there. The other Russian army is coming in from the south in the region called Allenstein, and it is led by Alexander Samsonov, which is the Russian Second Army. We have only one major army at our disposal here at Königsberg, and it is led by the famous General Paul von Hindenburg, and we're going to merge his 8th Army stack with several Army Corps stacks to create a powerful army that allows us to engage the Russian armies one at a time and kick them out of Eastern Prussia. So as you can see, in this region there we have different stacks available to us, garrison stacks, reserve stacks, and army corpses, and we're going to take the 8th army, which is Hindenburg's army, and we're going to drag and drop it over the 20th Army Corps and merge it together, over the 17th Army Corps and merge them together, and over the 1st Army Corps. And everything here is drag and drop, so it's fairly intuitive, fairly easy to organize. So now we have a big army. But as you can see at the bottom right, we have something in red here, which is a command penalty, which means that currently this force is too big for the current command level and suffers a loss in combat and movement efficiency. So what we're going to do is we're going to promote Hindenburg and form a ground HQ, which basically makes him the supreme leader of the German forces, so that he will be able to effectively take command of the stack, and you will see that the command malice has been reduced, making him more effective. So by clicking here, we're going to form a ground HQ led by Hindenburg himself, and now as you can see at the bottom right, the red number is gone, and we have more command points available than the army requires, so we're a more effective fighting force. So now what we're going to try to do is to plot the movement in such a way that next turn, we will be able to engage one of these, both of these Russian armies one at a time. So I'm going to take, to initiate the order, I'm going to take my stack of Hindenburg and place him in the region where we want him to advance to. Now this is an offensive action, so we're going to also change his status, not to defensive, but we're giving him offensive posture. After he's done this, we want him to move south to this Russian second army. And as you can see here, this will take about 30 days, which is a great number of turns, with the turn being 7 days only. We prefer to engage them in the same turn, so we can engage the second army without giving the first army, which we engage first, a chance to recover. So we can effectively fight them in separate battles, so they won't be able to use their numerical advantage. So in order to do that, we're going to make use of the railway network that is placed here in the map. So we're going to go to movement orders, and we're going to say move by rail. And you will see a new line forming following the railways itself, going down south, and the amount of turns it will take is reduced to 7, which should fit exactly in one turn if all goes well. So now that we have reorganized our army and formed a ground HQ under Paul von Hindenburg and plotted his movement, we're going to press and turn and see what will happen when combat is initiated. So while loading master file, the engine calculates the supplies, the weather effects, the movement orders, etc. In this scenario it goes very quickly, which is really cool, and we're seeing that we're already engaged in the first battle here at Wehlau, where our army under Hindenburg to our left is fighting the Russian First Army under Rennenkampf to our right. Well, we're going to go for a balanced deployment here just to play it safe. We don't want to lose too many men before we engage the second army, so we're going to go for a cautious battle. So here you see that the battle takes place. It's quite a huge battle, and we have lost a lot of men, and so has our enemies. We've lost over 41,000 infantry troops, and the enemy over 36,000, as well as some horses. But it was during the assault that the enemy routed, leaving us in command of the region and thus granting us the victory. So our army will now move back on its trains and continue the way to the south to meet with the second army. As you can see, we have a lot of details here, a lot of icons and tooltips, etc. Combat is very detailed, but we can't go into too much of that stuff right now. For those of you who want to get into it, there's really a lot to find and a lot of effects to take into account when effectively planning your movements and combat. And this is a shocking event actually. Rather than retreating to another region, the enemy general Rennenkampf has engaged my now hardly defended fortress of Königsberg and is defeating the troops stationed outside of it and is besieging the city right now. So this is a very negative point, bad point for me, and something I will have to take into account in the coming turns. Now our army under Hindenburg has encountered the Russian Second Army under Samsonov, and we're going to try and outflank this army. So we're going to use our reserves to reinforce the flanks and try and force them into a rout. Let's see what happens. And nothing is going as planned today, as my army has failed to effectively defeat the Russian force. Samsonov held his ground and pushed me back, both of us suffering about the same losses, about 14,000 men, close to 15,000. And we're pushed back. So this is the situation in the next turn. As you can see, my gamble to take out both enemy forces has failed. It was somewhat over-ambitious, trying to follow the historical path of Hindenburg by taking them out individually, and I really have to rethink my moves for the coming turns, and how I will defeat these two armies now. So my army here on Hindenburg is on the run, trying to retreat to Tannenberg itself, leaving the Russian Second Army free to do what it wants, and the Russian First Army still besieging Königsberg. So altogether it's not a good turn for me, but I hope it has shown you at least how not to play, and also a taste of the different tactics and strategies you can use in this game to try and outsmart your opponent. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.